Good afternoon, dear colleagues, and I'm very glad to see you again, all of you, to support our students. My name is Natalia. I'm a representative of Russian House in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And traditionally, in our country, in Cambodia, Russian education is very popular. And we're happy to support Cambodian students and offer them the great opportunity together with our colleagues from ROSATOM to support talented students who are interested in education in Russia, especially in nuclear technology area. Because nuclear technology now is covered many fields of our life, including medicine, agriculture, engineering, and many, many other areas. I want to welcome all participants of this conference and hope that this information will be very useful for all students who pretended to quotas from Rosatom concern. They have a limited time until 1st of November to send their documents if they're interested. And other people who wants to study in Russia and improve their education, they have no limit to contact with universities in Russia. And I welcome our speakers and given
Thank you. As I think that it's my time today, yes, and really I'm glad to participate in today's event, and our workshop is the second, and this gives us the opportunity that the event will be permanent. Today the world is undergoing great changes in all areas of our lives, and the established vision of education is changing too. New specialties with great potential are coming to the fore. In this regard, we are faced with the task of telling about the possibilities of obtaining modern education, about future specialties. And if now in Laos, the need of nuclear specialists is still small, this opportunity to introduce our Lao colleagues, Deputy Director of Science Management Department of Ministry of Education and Sports of the Lao PDR is here. Please welcome. And in conclusion, I would like to thank the state corporation Rosatom for their consistent efforts to promote Russian nuclear education. Also wish success to all participants of our workshop and all the young people watching us online. Thank you indeed. And as I understand, now the next speakers is Olga Momot, right? From MEPhI. Okay, please welcome. Olga, microphone.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see all of you at this workshop, and I hope it will be useful for you. And today I'm going to present the short topic about non-power application of nuclear technologies in a modern world. I'm associate professor of the Department of Nuclear Physics and Engineering of the National Research Nuclear University, Moscow, Russia. And today's topic is very interesting and very useful for modern world. So let me begin from the some basic statements and about radioactivity. What is it? Because this natural phenomena is the fundamentals of all nuclear technologies which we can apply. And let me remind you about some main items. For example, we know that everything consists of atoms, and some atoms can be stable. It means that they can live very long time without any changes. But some of elements can have radioactive isotopes. These isotopes can have very great properties like release energy, and this energy can be used for different purposes. Some examples you can see here. The one of the main element in our world is the hydrogen. Hydrogen has 3 isotopes. The first one is a protium. It's not radioactive. Sorry. The second one, hydrogen to deuterium, it's also not radioactive. But tritium, which has more neutrons in the nucleus, it has a very great property like radioactivity, and during radioactive decay it will release radiation. This radiation we can divide into some types. For example, alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. All of these types of radiation has different properties. Some of them are very penetrative. Some has a very good ionizing ability. And these properties, of course, we can use in our industry, in our life. So, but first of all, I would like to say that our world consists of different elements and different isotopes, and our air, our water, our earth has, all of them have a lot of radionuclides, natural radionuclides, and we live in such a environment which irradiate us, and we all of us are also as a radioactive sources, because we consist of some radionuclides like carbon 14, potassium 40, tritium, and so on. That's why we live with such an environment for long. That's why we have already adopted to this environment, and it's normal for our life, and we don't need to it's not necessary to be afraid of such a situation, because it's a natural phenomenon. But some radionuclides we need to produce with a special properties, with a particular characteristics, and for these purposes we use special equipment. And what is this equipment and facilities? Of course, the first one is a research reactor. Research reactor, it's not as a power reactor. It has different properties and different applications. But using such a reactor, we can produce different isotopes with definite properties like half-life, the decay type, and so on. During a special reaction, using special materials, special targets, we generally can produce the necessary items or necessary elements and isotopes, which can be used for medical purposes, for agriculture, for industry, and so on. Also, some equipment like particular accelerators also can be used. They are maybe they have, of course, a different principle of operation, but using special targets, we can irradiate these targets with particles like protons or electrons or maybe neutrons, and we can receive the new materials with new properties, and use also such radionuclides in some areas of their application. So as I said, we can use sometimes as a natural radionuclide, some natural radionuclides for application, and also we can use the new artificial materials, which has more favorable properties than natural, and of course all of them are very helpful. Let's talk about some applications of such radionuclides in some areas. Let's start from agriculture. And some techniques which we can use for these purposes. The first one, it's a pre-sowing irradiation. So before planting of different vegetables or crops, we can irradiate such materials with, for example, gamma rays or beta particles. And what we will get after such irradiation? Firstly, we can produce more vegetables or crops, because the crop capacity or maybe vegetable capacity will be increased up to 10, 15 or 30%, and it means we will get more yield, more harvest, and we can sell it in different countries, for example. Also, such a pre-sowing irradiation can improve some very important properties. For example, it can increase the content of sugar in, for example, vegetables like potato, like watermelons or other materials, and it will improve its quality, and it will be more tasty. Then radicidation. Radicidation is used for control of pests in our yield. For example, after growing, we collect a lot of crops, maybe dry fruits, we prepare dry fruits, but one of the main problem is the loss of such products because of pests. Insects will damage our yield, and sometimes we can lose a lot. Lose a lot. For example, according to the common statistic, 5% of all crops we lost because of pests. And using for example, in this case, we can't use traditional methods, for example, like chemicals, because these chemicals will stay in these crops, and we can't prepare any foods after such a treatment. That's why, in this case, we can use just irradiation. Irradiation will penetrate through all of these food products and kill all pests inside. It's very safely for everything, for crops as for us. And then food irradiation. When we have, for example, meat, fish, seafood, or fruits which have a very short shelf life, for example, we can't store fish or meat without treatment. For example, more than 1 day, it will be bad, yeah, after such a stain. That's why we use irradiation. Usually, we firstly pack fish or meat in plastic packages and irradiate directly these products in a special facilities. And after such a irradiation, our food and our fish can be stored safely for months in our refrigerators at the temperature of refrigerators without any changes and without bacteria, fungus, and so on. And it's very important, for example, for countries who export for example, mangoes or bananas or other products, or strawberries, for example, because they have a very short shelf life. That's why they can't, for example, we can't deliver such fruits in different countries. They will be bad. That's why this method is very important, especially for example, spices, which is also can be treated by chemicals. And is it safe or not? Of course, it's safe because this radiation will penetrate, as you can see, through packages without damaging and kill just all bacteria and viruses, maybe fungus, which will destroy our food products. And there is no chemicals inside, there is no other defects and so on. And for example, on this product, you will see such a green sign, as you can see in the corner. This sign is called as Radura, and all products which were irradiated will have such a sign. That's why in a supermarket, for example, you can find such a sign, and it will be it will taught us that this product is safe and you can use it very safely without any change in tests and so on. And nowadays, such a method of food irradiation is very popular in our world because more than 79 countries nowadays use such a method. And all over the world, we have more than 220 facilities which have already used such a method. And I think that all of you have already tasted such a products. Maybe you just didn't mention it, but or notice it, but you have already. And then let's talk about healthcare. Radionuclides are quite wide use, find a quite use. Quite wide usage of healthcare because of diagnostics, because of treatment of very dangerous diseases. And of course, one of the main applications is diagnostic. Diagnostic is a method which will show us where and what is the disease, and it's one of the best way for treatment, for next treatment. And you maybe have already heard about X-ray radiography, because it's a commonly used method all over the world. It was used firstly in 1895 by Röntgen, who discovered such rays. And nowadays it's the common way how to detect, how to image our lungs, for example, our bones, and so on. But during this method, we will get just one single radiological image. But we have improvement of such a method, and very popular right now during the COVID pandemic, it's a computer tomography, which can easily detect, for example, the damages of lungs, but it will be not as an image, it will be as a 3D presentation of lungs. So because it's multiply scans, approximately 60 layers of lungs will be demonstrated and will be collected as one 3D image. And of course, I would like to mention that for this invention, maybe not one, scientist got a Nobel Prize. It's a very important methods right now in all countries for detecting diseases. Also, some maybe unusual for you method, but these methods are very useful for also diagnostics. It's radiopharmaceuticals, the application of radiopharmaceuticals and positron emission tomography. Radiopharmaceuticals, it's a special chemicals. I have mentioned about them earlier. We produce such pharmaceuticals using reactors or accelerators, and then we inject radiopharmaceuticals into human body, and these pharmaceuticals will be distributed. Maybe sometimes in different places will be accumulated, and because of their accumulation and because of their properties, they will release energy as particles or as gamma rays. We can detect their accumulation, we can detect the processes in the organs, their distribution, and so on, and we can detect defects or diseases using such method. Also, one of the modern methods, a very precise method for example, cancer cells detection. It's a PET scanning. PET scanning uses very short-lived radionuclides, and these short-lived radionuclides, they are positron emitters. And inside the human body, these positrons will react with electrons, and they will produce two gamma rays, and these gamma rays will be detected, and we will get the image, 3D image, as you can see on this slide. And we can see that there are some problems in maybe in the stomach of this person, because we have here the accumulation of these radionuclides, and these radionuclides were accumulated just in cancer cells because of special processes. So that's why we can image this location of these cancers. Also, about treatment, nuclear medicine has some methods for treatment of cancer, because our first purpose was to detect cancer. Why cancer is important? Because it has the second place as a diseases causes of the death all over the world. That's why a lot of people die from cancer. And radiopharmaceuticals, in this case, and the treatment can kill cancer cells very effectively. And for example, you can see thyroid gland. Thyroid, as we know, absorbs a lot of iodine, common iodine. But if we will inject radioactive iodine, it will be also absorbed in thyroid gland. And during the radioactive decay, beta particles will irradiate cancer, and our patient will be safe. All cancer cells will be killed, and it will be a good result for such a treatment. Some modern methods like brachytherapy. Brachytherapy, it's a injection or putting the small seeds or small balls of radionuclides capsules inside the tumor directly. And sometimes later, this tumor also will be destroyed because of radiation and radioactivity. For example, prostate cancer nowadays is treated by such a method, and it's a very popular method. Then gamma knife. There is no invasion. We just have such equipment. This equipment inside has approximately 200 sources, radioactive sources, and of cobalt-60. And these sources of gamma radiation will be collected in a just special zone in the brain where the tumor is located, and the tumor will be burned by gamma rays. And that's why patient just after such a procedure will stand up and go home without any damages, and some days later the cancer cells will be destroyed and a patient will be safe and treated. So that's why we have a lot of opportunities to treat cancer, sometimes other diseases, from using such tools. Except for like treatment and diagnostic, we can use in other way ionizing radiation for sterilization, for example, because we need to produce very clean items as a clothes for surgeries, as a equipment and tools which we use commonly in hospitals. And we don't use chemicals in this case. We don't contaminate our environment. We just irradiate such items, and all bacteria and fungus will be killed. So it has a high reliability, it has a high performance, and it's very commonly used. For example, in Russia, we have approximately 10 such centers of sterilization of medical products. One of the main application of ionizing radiation for fighting with insects. Such insects can kill a lot of people because of such epidemics of viruses, or usually viruses. And we can kill such flies like tsetse fly or mosquitoes or screwworm fly using our methods. We capture, for example, or reproduce population of insects. Then we irradiate just males in this population, and we release such a irradiated population in the environment, and they can't produce offsprings, babies, because these males are suffered from irradiation. That's why we have a increasingly stopped the production of these flies in the environment. So we can kill using such ethic methods for these pests. And there are a lot of course, applications as desalination of water, because the lack of fresh water is very acute question in the modern world. But using, for example, seawater and using such technologies, we can produce a lot of dissolved water. We can preserve food. We can use such tools in industry, like smoke detectors, like also defectoscopes and so on, and some other effects, some other applications, for example, which you have seen everywhere, because we have a lot of threats from terrorists, and using such as scanners, baggage scanners or full body scanners, we can detect the special items which can damage people. Then we can use it in for restoration of great creatures of our architectures and so on. We can, for example, use X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy to determine the chemical composition. And David of Michelangelo, he lost his nose, and it was quite important to determine the content of this material to restore his nose. And you can't see that there is no difference between the previous version and the nowadays version. Also, we can conserve such items like mummies, and also very old papers, which are very important for saving. You can see the application of desalination of seawater. It's one of great example. Aktau, Kazakhstan. This city didn't have any water supplies. That's why only water from power reactor and this treatment was used for their purposes, as for drinking water. And there are actually a lot of applications, but of course more of them you can learn, you can study. For example, in our university, MEPhI University, which has a lot of institutes with different directions, with different academic programs, about as a non-power application, about power application. And right now you have a chance to be as a student of Russian universities. That's why please use such a possibility, and we invite you. If you wanna ask me, you can write in a chat, or and I can leave contacts about application or in National Research Nuclear Education. Thank you for your attention.
It was very interesting. Thank you very much, Olga. It was very interesting. Thank you for your presentation. It was a presentation from National Nuclear Research University of Moscow in Russia. And we welcome our next speaker from Tomsk Polytechnic University, Vera Verkhoturova, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Let me start my presentation. And in fact, my presentation will be in a continuation with the presentation of our Moscow colleagues. And I would like to focus on in my presentation, I would like to focus on the peaceful use of nuclear and radiation technologies. And the first thing that I would like to say that even if there are no nuclear and radiation facilities in your country, it does not mean that you can't be trained in the field of nuclear and radiation technologies. The thing is, even taken into account our experience, 70 years ago, 75 now years ago, nuclear industry appeared in Russia. And it was a core, engineering core, thanks to which different engineering industries appeared after the developing of nuclear industry. So if your country is interested in mechanical engineering, chemical technologies, electronics, whatever, basic physics, etc. So nuclear can be a core. And if you get nuclear education, You can be successfully employed. Even in our country, there is such experience for our students. You can be successfully employed in chemical industry, electronics industry, mechanical engineering industry. So not only nuclear, but to get successful employment, of course, you should get very good education. And today, Russian universities, MEPhI and Tomsk Polytechnic University will do their best to show you the opportunities of getting the education in the field of nuclear and radiation technologies with the application for the prosperity of your country. So, in my presentation, I would like to show you the opportunities of using already existing facilities for research needs, for training personnel, and for production, for getting profit, real profit. But first of all, let's look at the slide and clarify what nuclear research facility is. So here you can see the short definition of nuclear research facility. The basic difference between nuclear research facilities and NPPs, nuclear power plants, is production of energy. Nuclear research facility does not produce energy directly, but in my presentation, I will show you the use of nuclear research facilities in energy industry. Apart from that, nuclear power plants are producing energy directly. So here on the slide, you can see a short and brief history of developing nuclear research facilities. As you see, in 1982, there was a start of developing these facilities. The first generation of facilities appeared. Now we are at the stage of the fourth generation of these facilities. And if you look through briefly, you can see the change in the application of these facilities from military purposes are at the first stage till commercial purposes, isotopes production, getting real profit, natural safety, radio ecology at the current stage. Are now some words about the use of these facilities with the example of our university. In our university, we have all of the most important nuclear and radiation facilities, and all of these facilities are operating. It is nuclear research reactor, cyclotrons, small compact accelerators such as betatrons, etc. So the first and the biggest nuclear research facility, of course, nuclear research reactor. In the first three lines, you can see the characteristics of our nuclear research reactor. And I would like to pay your attention to the fact that all international students of our university have a full access to this facility for training and research. Moreover, we already have the students from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from India, from China. So, and all the students have been successfully trained or now trained at this facility. And some of them are doing their research. If they're interested in this direction, they're doing their research at our nuclear research reactor. Main application fields, production of radioisotopes, neutron activation analysis, neutron capture therapy to fight with cancer, especially brain cancer and neck cancer. The thing which is very demanded, highly demanded nowadays, it is nuclear transmutation of doping of silicon. Without this silicon, this type of silicon, higher current semiconductor technologies can't be developed. So if you want to develop solar energy technologies, wind energy technologies, if your country wants to develop electric cars, so you can't do it without nuclear transmutation doping of silicon. So at our reactor, we do this work, and we have the contracts with the companies all around the world that buy this type of silicon to produce higher current semiconductors. This is also quite profitable for the country. Development of the technologies to obtain diagnostic and therapeutic radiopharmaceuticals, radiation material science, and of course, training. And now some details about this activity, silicon doping technology. This is very interesting fact that in our laboratory of silicon doping at our nuclear research reactor, we produce 5% of the annual world volume of doped silicon. That is why if your country wants to develop the technologies in the field of semiconductors, you are welcome to our nuclear research reactor to be involved in these activities, research, production, and training. Then, isotopes production. Here you can see the examples of the isotopes, medical isotopes, that are produced in the laboratory of radiopharmaceuticals production, which is also based at our nuclear research reactor. A little bit later, I will tell about this activity, production of radioisotopes in more detail. But now I would like to say just one thing. This is very important for the country if you have these facilities, nuclear and radiation facilities, or you want to have these facilities from the very beginning. It is very important to use these facilities not only for production, but for production, for research, and for training, as we do now here in Tomsk, because from the very beginning, all the students are involved in the process of real production. And when they graduate the program, they have practical competences in the field, that is their major field, both production of radioisotopes, silicon doping, anyway. One more activity which is very important to be done with the use of nuclear research facilities, it is neutron activation analysis. So ecological problems are very important nowadays, and for many countries it's a nightmare nowadays. So if you have any nuclear research facility, you can use neutron activation analysis instruments to work with the samples of ores, rocks, soils to test their contamination and to evaluate the level of the contamination, water contamination, ground contamination, etc. That is why neutron activation analysis methods are widely used nowadays all around the world for radioecological activities. So here you can see the radiation and environmental monitoring, which is very often is not possible to be done without nuclear research facility, without neutron activation analysis. And in this field, it's not a secret that there is a stereotype in the world that nuclear facilities are dangerous to the world. But here you can see that it's not dangerous to the world, but vice versa. It helps to make the world cleaner because it allows to do radiation control and radiation safety in oil and gas industry, radiation control of industrial waste, not only radioactive waste, but any industrial waste. Radiation dosimetry control in X-ray diagnostic, and you know that now there is no any hospital without X-ray diagnostic. Radiation study of water drinking, natural waters, underground waters, and food products, etc. So using nuclear research facility, you can do radiation and environmental monitoring very effectively. Then, modification of material properties. For example, in the laboratory of neutron activation analysis, we are collaborating with jewelry industry. There are many pressure or semi-precious stones nowadays that are in the ground, and they do not have this very, very nice and bright color that you can meet in jewelry shops, because this color is given to these stones with the use of neutron activation analysis with nuclear research facilities. Without this radiation, without these facilities, these stones do not have nice color. Usually they are gray or white, but not green, not blue, not even yellow. Then here you can see the examples of real projects that are done at our nuclear research facility, from cryogenic material science till positron annihilation spectroscopy. Are new complexes that are developed at our research reactor for research purposes and training purposes. Practical training of nuclear power engineering students. So as a part of academic process, all our students, international students also are trained at the reactor. And here you can see the examples of the case studies and project works that the students do at our operating nuclear research facility. There is another facility here on the photo, which is named cyclotron. In comparison with nuclear research reactor, it's not nuclear facility, but it is radiation facility. It does not demand a big territory with a higher level of our security. So our cyclotron, it is rather big cyclotron, but it is located in one of the university buildings. Of course, it demands radiation safety measures, but in comparison with nuclear research facility, of course, these measures are easier, much easier. In the first three lines, you also can see the characteristics of our cyclotron, and the third characteristic is very important. Currently, in Russia, our cyclotron is the only cyclotron that is used for the real therapy of cancer patients, because we have special channel for neutron therapy that is used in oncology. The thing is that even in Oxford and Cambridge, there are no both of these operating facilities, nuclear research reactor and cyclotron. So our university is in top 15 world universities that have both of these operating facilities, which means that if you choose the study nuclear and radiation technologies here, your competences will be unique, not even at national level, but even at international level. And if you look at application fields of cyclotron, you can see that it is also used for production of medical radiopharmaceuticals, for neutron therapy of cancer patients, but also it is used for radiation testing of products, to produce polymer membranes and metal nanostructures, which are demanded in chemical industry and nano industry, and for fundamental studies. And the third facility that I would like to tell you today is Betatron, is named Betatron. It is also radiation facility, but not nuclear facility. In this way, it is closer to cyclotron than to nuclear research reactor. Among these three facilities, Betatron is the smallest facility, but it is very important by their usage. If you look at application fields of this facility, you can see that this facility is used for radiation therapy. This facility is used in inspection complexes, in tomography of aerospace, shipping, and even military equipment, and in film and digital radiography of welded joints and building structures. So that is why, to sum up, as I have said, if you get an education in the field of nuclear and radiation technologies, it does not mean that you have to work exactly in the field of nuclear technologies. So your competences and your knowledge can be applied in any industry, oil and gas industry, so road transport, railway industry, aerospace industry, medicine, of course, etc. Well, on this map, you can see the supplying of betatrons, medical betatrons, produced by our university all around the world, from United Kingdom till South Asia. And the thing is that these betatrons are widely used, especially in the field of nuclear medicine. On this slide, very shortly, you can see the history of the development of nuclear medicine technologies in our university. The start of these technologies was connected to cyclotron. Then we started to use betatrons for the treatment of malignant neoplasms and skin diseases. And then the third stage, one of the professors of our university has designed a new completely waste-free technology to produce technetium-99 generators that are used to for diagnostic of cancer patients. And the thing is that currently there are just two technologies in the world to produce technetium-99 generators, the most widely used instrument for cancer diagnostic, just two technologies in the world. And the founder of one of these technologies, waste-free technology, is the professor of our university. This professor is working nowadays. He has PhD students and master students under his supervision. So, and he's continuing to share his expertise in this field. Are radiopharmaceuticals, why they're so important? Because they can be used not only in the field of oncology. If you look at the slide, you can see that radiopharmaceuticals produced at nuclear research facility and at cyclotron can be used to deal with heart diseases, kidney diseases, thyroid imaging, liver scintigraphy, and even lungs perfusion assessment. On this slide, you can see the formulas of production radiopharmaceuticals at nuclear facility in the first part of the slide, with the final product, technetium-99 generator, which is supplied to oncological hospitals, and the production of so-called cyclotron radiopharmaceuticals in the second part of the slide, with also the final product goal target for thallium-199 production. Very important thing that if you look at the final stage in the production, you can see that there is no radiation waste at all. So that is why, again, nuclear and radiation technologies are completely safe in comparison with traditional technologies. On this slide, you can see the examples of radiopharmaceuticals that are already produced at our nuclear research facility or cyclotron in a cooperation with medical institutions. And of course, technetium-99 generators, they are the leaders nowadays, and they are in the center of the slide. What are the prospects in the development of peaceful application of nuclear and radiation technologies? Of course, medicine is at the first place. Theranostics. This is the combination of two activities, therapy and diagnostic. Everybody knows that when a person meets with a cancer, it is a very difficult period in his or her life, physically difficult, because you have to go through decades of diagnostic procedures and then therapeutic procedures. And one of the purposes of nuclear medicine globally nowadays is how to make a life of this person at this stage easier. So how to minimize, how to decrease a number of the procedures that a person has to go through. So here you can see one of the solutions. When we make the combination of diagnostic and therapeutic isotope, and when we use just one procedure, we put into the body diagnostic and therapeutic isotope, which means that we do not need any additional therapeutic procedures. So this isotope works in two directions. Firstly, it does diagnostic, and then it has subsequent therapeutic effect. On this slide, you can see the results that are already achieved by our university, again, in a cooperation with medical institutions in the field of theranostics. As you see, several radiopharmaceuticals have been developed. In vitro studies have already been done, and even preclinical studies have already been done successfully. Let's come back to betatrons. Why it is very important nowadays, even if you remember the map that I have shown you a couple of minutes ago. The use of betatrons in the field of nuclear medicine is very important in comparison with traditional therapy, because look at the final line on this slide. Because 1 minute of the therapy based on betatron technology replaces 5 weeks of standard traditional radiation therapy after surgery. Again, if a person meets with a cancer, firstly, he or she has come through a lot of diagnostic and therapeutic procedures. Then very often he or she meets with a surgery. And when you have any power, human power, body power to fight with this disease, you have to meet with additional 5-week radiation therapy, traditional therapy, but you have no power at all at this stage. So betatrons can help you a lot because just 1 minute is enough instead of 5 weeks. Then when we use betatrons to deal with cancer, the percentage of the cases when the cancer comes back decreases from 18% to 8%. So the chance that the person will completely recover from the disease is much higher. Neutron capture therapy is also one of the very prospective activities, but for this activity you need nuclear research facility. This technology is very prospective to deal with brain cancer and neck cancer. Again, it's not a secret that brain cancer very often is not operable with traditional instruments. You can't do a surgery because if a tumor is deep in the brain, while you reach this tumor, you have to damage healthy substances of the brain, which will have very negative effect to the whole human body. The same reason why you can't use traditional radiation therapy. The damage to the healthy brain parts will be very serious. Neutron capture therapy allows us to deal with brain cancer without damaging healthy parts of the brain. On this slide, you can see very schematic photo of the basic principles of working neutron capture therapy. And I can say that our nuclear research reactor, we successfully work in the direction of neutron capture therapy. We have special equipment, which is listed here. And moreover, we already do testing therapy for real cats and dogs. So these pets have brain cancer, and we are allowed to treat them with the use of neutron capture therapy. So and the results are very positive. Some words about our university in the end of the presentation. So our university is rather old university. So last year we celebrated 25th anniversary of establishment. From the very beginning, we were opened as the University of Practical Engineers, which is very important. And we are ready to share our expertise now with you and with your countries. So our campus is one of the best universities campuses in Russia. And some years ago, it took the first place in our all Russian universities competition by the quality of the campus, and all personnel, all staff at the campus speak English. You do not need to feel any language barriers if you are inside the campus. So we have sport facilities, academic facilities, research facilities, etc. Even swimming pool. And some words about educational opportunities. So we have English language master degree program, which is supported by our country and by Rosatom. So if you want to apply for this program, you are welcome to do it, but do not forget about the deadline. It is the 1st of November. You can choose any of these 3 trajectories: nuclear power engineering, nuclear medicine, nuclear safety and security. And after graduation, you are allowed to go to the industry to be employed or to continue your study at our English language PhD program, nuclear thermal renewable energy and related technologies. So welcome to Tomsk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vera. The representative of one of the most famous university in Russia in this area. I hope all this information will be very useful for potential students. Now I'm giving the floor to ambassador of nuclear education in India, the very interesting person who educated in Russia in this field. And please welcome Mr. Mukherjee Somojit.
Very good afternoon to all of my friends in Laos and Vietnam and Indonesia. I hope that my presentation is visible. So if it is visible, let me start. My name is Somojit Mukherjee. I am an Indian student studying in MEPhI, one of the university of the first speaker. Right now, I am speaking to you right straight from Moscow, sitting in my room, dormitory room, and hoping to share my experience of studying nuclear education in Russia. So let's begin. So this is the introductory slide as to understand what we are going to talk about today. We will start about talking about me, who am I, what I do, then why did I choose Russia, then why did I choose MEPhI, and about life in Russia in general. So let's start about talking about myself. My name is Somojit Mukherjee, as you already know. I am a student of MEPhI, which is the National Research Nuclear University of MEPhI. I am right now in the 5th year studying at the specialist program. So for most of the people who will be studying here, there are technically 3 or 4 programs that you can choose from. You can be a bachelor, which is a 4-year degree. You can be a master, which is a 2-year degree, or you can also be a specialist, which is between 5 and 6 years degree, which is integrated degree of bachelors and masters together, depending on the program you choose. Or you can always come for PhD. So right now I'm in the last year of my specialist degree, and I am a student of economic security. Now you might think, an interesting question, what is a student of economics doing in the field of nuclear energy and nuclear related fields? It is definitely a very important question. Now the point about economics in the field of nuclear is that all the fields of nuclear are related to other fields. That includes government planning, city planning, as well as economics. So what do I do in my field of economic security related to the nuclear energy? As you know, any country that needs to have nuclear energy needs to build a nuclear power plant. To understand how much efficient or how much required it is and how useful will it be for the country to build a nuclear power plant and how much benefit will it get from that power plant, that is what I study in my field of economic security. So if you have any questions, I am waiting for them in the chat. So let's continue. So why should you choose Russia? That is a very important question. I believe that everyone has asked themselves when they have already come to Russia or when they have been planning to come to Russia. It is definitely a very important question. You can go to the United States of America, you can go to UK, you can go to Europe. So why choose Russia to study nuclear and related fields? Now, the first answer, which is the best answer that I can give you, is that education in Russia, for the most part, is free. What does it mean? That there are special places in the Russian budget which are allocated to international students from different countries so that they can come and study with Russian scholarship. But there are other reasons as well. These are the three main reasons where you should study in Russia. Firstly is Rosatom. Now, what is Rosatom? Rosatom is the state nuclear energy company, or also the organ which works in the field of nuclear energy. In the field of nuclear energy, Rosatom works in research, analysis, building of nuclear power plants, maintaining of nuclear power plants, and also export and import of nuclear goods. So what makes Rosatom special? Now, if you think about it, there are over 30 nuclear power plants which are being run inside Russia right now, which are run by Rosatom. So that gives them good experience. But that experience is also used elsewhere. Around the world, right now, in 16 countries, Rosatom is building a nuclear power plant, with more than 12 countries in negotiation with Rosatom to build more. That means that there is the international trust in Rosatom to build nuclear power plants and to control them. The best example I can give you is a country called Bangladesh, where they are building right now Rupur nuclear power plant. In my own country, India, we are building the Kundakalam nuclear power plant, also with Rosatom. If you go to African countries, there is a nuclear power plant built right now in Egypt. Same with in Nigeria and in Zambia. If you go to the South American countries, there is a project of Rosatom right now in Bolivia for research reactors. Even in Europe, you can go and find a research in actual nuclear reactors in Hungary and in Finland being built by Rosatom. So there is a general trust in Rosatom for building nuclear power plants. And why does it make important that Rosatom is a partner for most universities which work in the field of nuclear energy? So people who finish education in Russia in the field of nuclear can always go and work in the projects of Rosatom. That same experience is translated into the best experts who have practical experience in all the fields of nuclear energy and related fields, who can come not only work in the field of nuclear energy inside Russia and outside Russia, but also teach students who are learning nuclear physics and other subjects in universities of Russia, so that they can learn the best practices of the world which are used by Rosatom around the world. And international partnerships, definitely. In my university, which is MEPhI, alone, students from 69 countries are studying right now. All of these students have international partnerships. That means that their governments have deals with our university, who have sent them to get trained in the field of nuclear science, so that they can get trained and be sent back to their country and work in their own nuclear power plants. So that makes MEPhI and studying in Russia generally a great opportunity for coming and working through international partnerships. So where can you study in Russia? That is an important question. You can study in my university, which is NRA. In the midst of Siberia. You can study in the Ural Federal University, also a very beautiful and very old historic university. You can study in one of the biggest universities of Russia, which is the Russian People's Friendship University, where students from more than 120 countries study in nuclear and related fields. Or you can always go to St. Petersburg, one of the most beautiful cities of the world, and study in St. Petersburg Polytechnic University. But there are many other options in Russia where you can come and study. The main point is to know which field you are going to study in, and to ensure that the university where you are studying in has the best services for you. So how do you apply? How do you actually end up in Russia? First thing you need to do is to go to this website, studyinrussia.ru, and then you need to find your course and choose a university. There are hundreds of courses in that website, and there are hundreds of universities which are giving the courses that you want to see. So you can choose the best ones and bookmark them. Then the next part is to submit your documents, because if you submit your documents as soon as possible, as somebody mentioned, The deadline is 1st November. You submit your documents as soon as possible and you get a chance to come to Russia. And then we will come and meet you right at the airport to start your journey with us studying in Russia. So I hope that you are ready. So the next question is obviously, why should you choose MEPhI? Well, MEPhI is one of the best universities of Russia, and as any ranking in the world would say, it always comes in the top 3 universities of Russia. It is also one of the only national research nuclear universities. That means that it is specially made to study nuclear physics and related fields. So there is a specific focus on the field of nuclear energy, and that is why students from all over the world are sent by their governments to come and study in MEPhI and become experts in the field of nuclear research in MEPhI. And obviously there is the international community of students and experts. International community, as I already said, from 69 countries there are students everywhere. They have student associations, like there is the Indian Student Association, there is a Vietnamese Student Association, there is a student association for students from Indonesia. So all these students come and enjoy their lives in Russia. They meet with their Russian friends. Many of them even continue their studies. Some even settle down in Russia and live their entire lives in Russia. So there is a big international community, and there are a lot of experts, from international experts and Russian experts, who help you and guide you through this journey around your education system that you will go through your 3, 4, 5 years, as long as you study. So how is life in Russia? Let's say that life in Russia is very interesting. These are a few photographs that I have taken through my journey in Russia. As you can see, there are all shades of life in Russia. You can have very beautiful sunny days where you sit by the river, relax and enjoy your life, or you have very dark and cold days of where there's beautiful snowfall, there's that sparkle in the air. So life in Russia can be extreme, but that's the best part of Russia, because Russia is huge. It is the biggest country by size in the world. Depending on where you are living, there is an entire beautiful life you can have. You can have sport events that you can go to. There is football, there is Formula 1, there is other sports that you can come and watch. There is also Olympics that happens all the time. So life in Russia is very interesting, and I would suggest you to come here and enjoy that life, because this is something that you can read a lot about, you can watch a lot about, but until and unless you experience it, you will never get to know about it completely. So if you have got any questions, these are my contacts. So you can hit me up on Instagram, you can send me a message on Telegram if you have it, or you can always send me an email, and I will be happy to answer all of your questions at any point of time. So if you want, you can take a screenshot at this point of time to save my contacts. So, as I would like to say, see you here and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukherjee, for your kind words about our country. I think it was very interesting for our future students, and they know much more than they knew before. So our meeting coming to the end, and once again I want to thank you very much, all our speakers, all participants, colleagues, and also Deputy Director of Science Management Department, Ministry of Education and Sport of Laos, Konchai Pimakong. Unfortunately, there's a very bad connection with internet at that area, so join us, but couldn't speak with us. So thank you everyone once again. I hope we will collect all students who pretended to quote us. As I remind, they have time until 1st of November. Other students can contact the professors, universities, and join the system to send in documents. not limited until New Year. So thank you very much, everyone. Nice to see you again, and hope to see you much more times. Anyway, thank you so much. Bye.